Welcome to the third season of Heard, Afros Audio interview series. My guest today is Stephanie Cole. How are you today?
I am doing so well. At the time of this recording, my birthday was yesterday, and I
Oh,
purposely wanted it to be on this day. I had the day off from work, and I said, "This is gonna be my birthday present," so I'm super excited.
thank you and happy birthday. That's
Thank
awesome.
thank
I learned this year that it's not happy belated birthday. It's
Mhm.
belated happy birthday because your birthday is not belated. It was the day it was supposed to be on. My wishes are belated. So it
Okay.
needs to be belated happy birthday.
Lady
So I learned that this year, and I was like, "See, you hear something every day of your life, and you think
uh-huh.
that's accurate, and then something comes around to disrupt that, and you're
Mm,
thankful for it because now you're saying it correctly."
thank you,
And
Talib. Go for it.
all right, well, once again, happy birthday. So what inspired you to create Audio Oasis Storytelling, and how does the concept of mini stories reflect your vision as a storyteller?
Now, this is a true story. I don't know if you remember that show Scandal back in the day?
I do.
Olivia Pope and Papa Pope and them? Alright, so back in the day when social media wasn't like it is now, it was new, people didn't know what a hashtag was, it was like live tweeting, "What is that?" So there was this new show called Scandal about this ridiculously smart and beautiful Black woman, she was a fixer in Washington, DC, and she made things go away for powerful people. And my good friend said, "Girl, there's this show, you gotta check it out." And I was like, Alright," and got hooked on it. You remember every Thursday, it was like the Cosby Show back in the day, on Thursday night, everybody was watching Scandal. You didn't plan anything on Thursday, there was Scandal watch parties, people had their popcorn and, red wine. It wasn't gender specific, men were watching it, women were watching it, everybody churches were watching it, everybody was watching it because the next day, you didn't wanna be out of the loop with what happened with Fitz and Olivia and Melly and Cyrus and Papa Pope and B613 and all of them. So on Thursday night, they would live tweet as the show you remember, as the show was going down, people would be on Twitter or X, formerly known as Twitter, and we would tweet the show scene by scene. And a community was born because of that. And we were called what? Do you remember what the fans of Scandal were called?
I do not.
Gladiators. See,
Yeah.
gladiator, and we would have gladiator conventions. It was everything. So I enjoyed the community of that because when we got on one accord to talk about Fitz and Olivia and all of that, we were like one hive mind. We talked about it. It was great. So many YouTube recap channels were born. I just remembered how that felt to be connected into a community. It was positive for the most part, positive and just making each other feel really good. And that feeling of goodwill because it was so powerful. It wasn't only American TV, it was worldwide. People were watching on distant planets. They were watching Scandal. And if you had a new TV show coming out, you did not put it on Thursday because it was just a foregone conclusion your show would not survive. So what was the lineup, Talib? It was I know people are screaming at me. It was a medical show. Grey's Anatomy,
Okay.
Scandal, How to Get Away with Murder. I think those were the 3, and you would just park it on ABC TV, and just for the full night, you would watch that. How I got into podcasting, I wanted to create a community like that with storytelling because Scandal, if nothing, it was storytelling, and it was fantastic storytelling. So I decided in 2017, I would create my own podcast of storytelling. And in 2017, podcasting wasn't what it is today. It was still like, how does it work? So whenever I would explain podcasting to people, I would say, think of it as YouTube, but for your ears. You have
Mm.
channels, you have playlists, you have episodes, but you don't see it. You just hear it. So I started creating original stories of my own life and things that I experienced with a bit of humor. Now, I live in New York City. Shout out to Harlem. I live in Harlem my entire life. I love Harlem, even though
Mhm.
it's changed, but I'm still here to stay and I'm going to ride it until the wheels come off. And I thought, let me create something where I can bring people together. I'm not concerned about numbers. I'm not concerned about necessarily making money as my lead goal, but I just want to create something that's fun to listen to. Because I live in New York City, everything moves very fast. People walk fast, talk fast, they move fast. Move, get out the way. We got places to go. We got things to do. We don't have time for any type of nonsense. We are on the move. We are New Yorkers. So I said, Stephanie, if you're going to do this podcast thing, you got to make it short, sweet, little story bites that people can listen to on the platform before they jump on the train. There's no Wi-Fi on the train. That 3 minutes should hit. If somebody's walking from one corner to the next while they're waiting for the light, they can listen to an entire episode. And that was my impetus in terms of the formatting. New Yorkers, people with small windows, people who don't have the luxury of sitting still for 45, 30, an hour. 3 minutes, they can probably do. In 2017, it was born.
Wow, that's a great story. I love that. You were ahead of the time with attention spans just dwindling more and more
Mhm.
as
Oh,
we
man.
as we are now. 3 minutes, 5 minutes is such a sweet spot for
Yes.
impact. I love that. And for sure, Harlem, I had the privilege of living and being in no, not in Harlem, but I lived in Jersey City
Okay.
for
That's a
13 years.
cousin. His cousin.
Yes. And
Okay.
my daughter, she went to the Junior Scholars Program at Schomburg Center for 3 years,
Mhm.
and from her sophomore year to her senior year, and she
Uh-huh.
still is an alumni and all of that.
Proud.
So I was in Harlem every weekend,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, it was really a great experience, and you're so right. I tell people that the pedestrians and the way that we walk on the sidewalks is much like traffic patterns.
Really.
We have to
It's
stop at the same time, we walk through each other, we're merging, we're doing all this, and we are pissed off if you stop in the middle of that in the middle of traffic. While
yeah.
we do it ourselves
Mhm.
and forget that somebody's pissed off behind us. So,
Mhm.
but Harlem is one of the greatest places on earth.
Great.
Kudos to you for even recognizing that this is what people want and need. It may
Well,
not be said. It might not be on in anybody's article, but it is what people want and need. This is in your ears, entertainment. So that's really great. Your
yeah.
podcast offers an escape that reemerges with reflection, laughter, and hope. How do you achieve this balance in your storytelling?
Like I said, I pulled from just everyday experiences, and one of them is the bodega. And if you live in certain neighborhoods, I don't have to explain what the bodega is. The bodega is like a, how do you say, a Target. Everybody knows what Target is. It's like the Target store, but in the neighborhood that never closes. And you can get anything from cigarettes to alcohol, condoms, shampoo, Pampers, sanitary napkins, a sandwich, chopped cheese, swim cap, lifesavers, Snickers bar, and maybe a garden hose to hook up a leaky faucet. And it never closes. So I started picking out things in New York City, specifically Harlem life, that was fun to listen to, that's relatable, and packaging it into a short story that'll make you feel like that's really good. And then you listen to the story, you end the story, you go back to work, or you go back to taking care of your children, or you go back to whatever it is you're doing, but you feel just a little bit better. That was my goal in doing that.
Yeah, I remember listening to that Bodega episode. I enjoyed it because where I live on East Shore, Maryland, there are no bodegas, there are no corner stores, and you have to go to Target, right?
You have to get in your car
So,
and drive.
yes,
Mhm.
yes, there are a lot of people in the world who have never experienced this, but through
Uh,
that episode, they did. That's so great to bring people into your world, and that's the art of storytelling,
it is.
is to have people jump right into the spaces that you are referencing. So that's really cool. And that Bodega episode is exceptional. And you have many exceptional stories, but I remember that one specifically.
Thank you.
So, as someone who loves leadership, philosophy, and classic comedy, how do these interests influence the themes and the tone of your podcasts?
Leadership, in my um, opinion, is a form of storytelling because you have to find a way to connect with the people that you serve. I truly believe that leadership ultimately is about service. You're the leader, so they're not necessarily there to serve you. You serve them by placing them in positions where they can flourish and succeed and reach their goals. And by you being able to do that, you are rewarded as a leader. I always love to find out leadership principles. I love reading about ancient leadership principles like Attila the Hun. I have a leadership book that's Leadership Secrets of Attila the Hun. Now, you might say, now, what Attila the Hun was not to be messed with. Now, yeah, he had some very interesting ways of dealing with insubordination. You don't want that because you probably won't be here or you might be missing a body part. But for the most part, strategy. He had a way of looking at an entire situation and just like almost mathematically figuring out the weak spots, the spots where we need to shore up and add more troops and how to just get through everything with minimal damage. Just phenomenal leader. So I'm always looking at how relationships with people, communicating with said group and combining that with storytelling. In my opinion, it all works together. It all works together. Yeah.
It
Love
really
leadership
does.
philosophy.
So you discovered potential entrepreneurial opportunities through your podcast.
Yes.
How has the realization shaped your goals or direction?
Okay, let's get ready. For those of you who haven't listened to my podcast, see how the mood I wanted to get into voice talent and narration and things like that. And I thought, Stephanie, you're a comedian at heart. You love to laugh and you love to make other people laugh and just create good vibes. So why don't you try something first before you roll out this vocal velvet? Because that's what I call myself, vocal velvet. Before you
I
roll out this vocal velvet, try it first and see how you feel. So you know what I did? I don't know if you listened to this episode about the macaroni and cheese.
I don't remember that one.
Oh, Talib, get your life. Listen,
Okay.
get your life. Go into my catalog. It's called 2017 Vocal Velvet Macaroni and Cheese Edition. So it starts out. Now, if you did not know that this was about macaroni and cheese, you would say to yourself, "What- what's she, what is she talking?" Because I start out and I say something like, "Hey, this is Stephanie. Can we talk? This is a safe space, right? Okay, I want to talk about something that I'm going through. I just can't get enough of it. Just can't escape it. Controls me. Controls my and while I'm saying all of this, there's this sultry saxophone playing in the background. And disclaimer, on the cover art, the Spotify or whatever, it's a picture of macaroni and cheese. So if you look at it, you go, oh, and it says Vocal Velvet Macaroni and Cheese. But if you missed all of that, you're like, what is this about? Okay, I'm in my meeting, but maybe I should leave. So I'm saying, I can't get enough of it. And then you hear me say, macaroni and cheese, what is this hold that you have over me? I think about you throughout the day. You control my thoughts, appetites, and emotions, but I can get over you. And when I see you, my mouth waters. Can't help myself. So warm and firm. Well, let me tell you something. When this episode came out, I have a Bible study group. This is a gospel truth. I have a Bible study group, and I didn't tell them what the Vocal Velvet mac and cheese was about. I had so many texts that night, like, Sister Cole, you need to call me right away. And I was like, but it's about macaroni and cheese. So we had a great laugh. But from the response that I got from that, I said, I can do something with this Vocal Velvet audio. Your
I
face,
love that.
he's like, oh, shoot. Wait a minute now. Hold on. Where you going with
Yeah,
that?
yeah, I love that. And now you're making me curious
You got to
about.
listen to it.
I can't wait to listen to it. What did you do with your Vocal Velvet before podcasting? Or is podcasting where you begin to express and really present who you are and what you're capable of?
So when I was in college, I worked at this scientific institute and I was a receptionist. I was a young college student, and the older adults would come in and they would always say, Stephanie, you have a really nice voice. Now I'm trying to graduate. Where's my check? Just I want to go home. And I remember to this day, one of the account managers at the scientific institute said, Stephanie, I just want to tell you something. You may not understand it now, but you will one day. You have pear-shaped tones. And I said, excuse me, what? And he said, you have pear-shaped tones. He said, oh, don't worry about it. It's a good thing. And I did my little research and I went home and I told my parents, Mama, Daddy, what is it now, Stephanie? Because they just had enough of me. What is it? And I said, I was told today that I have pear-shaped tones. And as only as Black parents can be, they were like, Who told you this? Who told you this? Uh-huh. Did you go to school though? So I always knew that I had something different about the way I spoke. And I never forgot that. But I never activated it until much later. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna go in my pear-shaped tones box.
Mhm.
We're gonna see. We gonna see what this pear-shaped tone do. What that pear-shaped tone do, we gonna see. And this is where we are.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because I don't know what the hell pear-shaped tone is yet either, but, I agree. Yes, you do have an amazing voice. I've been told that I have a radio voice,
Mhm.
and for a long time, I thought that I sounded like if a peanut had a voice, it would be mine. Right.
Yeah, like a
That was my yeah,
like
just a
a
peanut, and not to be mistaken by Mr. Peanut, because he has a voice, but I just thought if a peanut could talk, that was my voice.
yeah.
And I've had to grow into the fact that my voice is alright. I may still sound like a peanut, who the hell knows? Because 'cause we've
Mm,
never heard a peanut talk,
right. Yeah.
but it's alright, it's alright.
It's
So
fine. It's
so to be affirmed in a way in the past that would
mm,
support your future self
yeah.
is really dope.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I never
Shout
forgot
out.
him because I didn't
Yeah.
know what he was trying to say. This was an older
Yeah.
man. I was like, "You trying to date me? Imma get my daddy in here. What you saying?"
Right.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
So what does it mean to you to create something that not only resonates with listeners, but also opens new professional doors?
Mhm. Okay, so dreaming is free. Why not? I have 2 dreams, and they battle with each other. Sometimes one dream is on top, other times it flips. To narrate children's books like, "Okay, kids, gather around. Is everybody comfortable? Billy, put it down. Put it down. Okay. Are we all listening? Very good. Once upon a time, there was." That's one. And the second dream that I have is meditation apps or sleep stories for people who cannot sleep. We live in a time right now where there's so much happening and anxiety is high and depression is rising. And for good cause, there are a lot of things that are happening, not only in our country, but in the world at large. And young people, now, these types of situations usually affect you, I would think, when you're older and you have more responsibilities and you have other people to take care of. But our young people are struggling. They didn't even get to be older to deal with big people problems. They're getting big people problems when they're not big people.
Mhm.
So I would love to have the opportunity to just settle people down. It's let's breathe on the count of 4, in and out, in, 2, 3, 4, out, or something like that. Something that people could listen to and settle in. And if you have trouble sleeping, it's welcome to adult sleepy time. Just something that you're listening with the intent to fall asleep. So you're not maybe not listening to what I'm saying, but you're listening to what I'm saying so that you can fall asleep. I would love to do that.
Absolutely, and listen, all of the above, and I listen to audio on YouTube going to sleep, and I do it to fall asleep, not to
Mhm.
stay up for the
Right,
rest of the night, or if I didn't listen to it,
right.
and the want and need for voices like yours are there because there aren't many, and it's hard to find and discover,
Mm,
and YouTube is easy because these people are recording it and uploading it just like you do a podcast.
mhm.
And so the barrier of entry is not hard. And I would love to see you in that space so that I can listen to you instead of the other folks. So,
Let's make it happen.
yeah, yeah,
Any suggestions? Yeah.
absolutely. So I love that. And we've talked a lot about your voice and your vocals, but
Mhm.
you're also crafting a story. So where does that come from? Are you a writer? How does the storytelling develop for you?
Okay, so a little bit about me. Probably can tell by now. What were you like as a child? My parents are still recovering. God bless them. I love them so much. But when I was growing up, I liked books more than toys. If you wanted to get the point across to me, deny me my books. Like some children, you take their toy away and they melt down and they're crying and you give them the toy and they know stay in line. With me, take my books away and I'm just a wreck. Like I need my books. I just love books. You would see me as a little girl while people were running around the playground. I would be the little girl, Afro puffs, and cat glasses. She was cute. And you would see me sitting on my park bench in my little pinafore outfit, little stripes and little thing right there, pleats on the bottom, ankle socks and Mary Jane shoes, because I was stylish too. And I would sit there and for hours just be in a book. And my parents would worry because I would be so immersed in the book. The world is moving. Lift your head out of the book and see what's going on, because the world is not as nice as you would think it is, Stephanie. And I just remembered the joy that I felt of being able to escape into these created worlds and just have fun there. So I'll share this story with you. And this is a true story, absolute truth. My grandmother, may she rest in peace, had a library down in North Carolina. And when I would go stay with her, they'd take the city kids and they send them outside for the summer. So my parents would send me to live with my grandma for the summer. She had a small library. And in that library, there was a book of Greek mythology. And Grandma, what you know about Greek mythology? This is a Southern Lady Baptist church. What you know about Greek mythology? Was this a gift? And she would look at me like, child, you don't know me as well as you think you do. Your grandma knows a lot of things. And like, oh, yes, ma'am. So, and it was a Greek mythology book that was tailored for children. It wasn't like adult. It was drilled down for children. There was a story about a Greek god and an earth woman had a child, a boy child. And I was little when I read this. And the boy grew up and he was very different. He was different because he was half God and half human. And his mama would always tell him, I'm going to put it the Harlem version. You know, your daddy's a god. Really, mama? Yeah, I'm going to send you up to see him when you're ready. I want to see him now, mama. You ain't ready. All right. So the kids would tease him because he wasn't like them, but he was like them. And they'd be like, we know who your daddy is. And you say your daddy's a god. Your daddy ain't no god. He is too. So when the boy got big enough, mama said, all right, it's time to go see your daddy. So his daddy was Apollo, god of the sun. So mama put on this special ointment. Back in the day, black mamas, the Vaseline, she put it on. She oiled him up because he was going to go on the widest sunbeam and he was going to walk up the sunbeam to meet his daddy, Apollo. But if he didn't have this ointment on, he would burn up instantly. Mama put the ointment on. She set him at the base of the widest sunbeam. And she said, just keep walking up, son. Your daddy's going to meet you at the top. And he was like, all right, mama. So the boy is walking up the sunbeam. It's getting hotter and hotter, but he has the ointment on, so he's okay. He gets to the top of the sunbeam, and there's his daddy proud. And his daddy's like, my boy, because the sun was beautiful. And if we know anything about gods, they love beauty. If you fine, you could get in the club. If you're not, eh. But if you're good looking, come on in. So when he saw his son, he immediately recognized him because the boy was beautiful. Come in. Welcome, son. He showed him all around. Hey, this is my boy. Hey, man, that's your boy. That's the boy you were talking about down on Earth. You had a relationship with that Earth girl, right? That's him? Oh, he cute. Hey, yeah, my boy. Took him around to see the other guys, and the other guys were very impressed because the boy was beautiful, right? So he's a proud papa, chest poked out. I knew that boy, I knew, right? What can I do for you, son? Anything you want. Now, you got to be careful when you're feeling good making promises. Let that be a lesson to you. Anything you want, son. What you want? What you want? The son looked around. Daddy? Yes, son. I would like to drive the chariot of the sun. And Apollo said, anything but that. Anything but that. Because the horses that drove the chariot of the sun were very difficult to control. Even with a god holding the rein, they were buck wild. So putting this half god, half human boy in the chariot seat, but a god cannot break a promise. So it was like, don't you want something else? What? Ask me for something else. You want a little girlfriend? You want some powers? You want something? Can I fix your sandwich? What you want? No. And kids are very funny. You're a dad. Whenever they see that you're struggling with the decision, they lock in. So when the boy saw his daddy was like struggling, he was like, no, daddy. And he knew that gods cannot go back on a promise. He knew that. No, daddy, I want to drive. Hold on. Can I tell a story? Can I tell it?
No, yeah, please.
Okay. No, daddy, I want to drive the chariot of the sun. So Apollo knew what was going to happen. Like, that boy going to die. But So he put the boy in the back of the chariot and he went over to the fire-breathing horse. He was like, look here, y'all stay on the path, okay? I know y'all like to get buck wild, but y'all stay on the path. And the horse was like, sure. All right, yeah, okay, sure, Apollo, whatever. So the boy started down the pathway of sunrise. Those fire-breathing horses were like, wait a minute, chariot feels kind of light. They turned around. And when they saw a little kid, not a god, but a little kid who was barely over the chariot box, they just went crazy. They started swooping down. When they swooped down to earth, they instantly created deserts. When they swooped up almost to the barrier of space, they instantly created snow-capped mountains. The little boy with all his might couldn't control it. And Apollo is watching this, and there's nothing he can do. Now, meanwhile, Papa Zeus, he's the king of the gods. He's watching. He's like, no, no, I'm gonna have to take him out. I'm gonna have to take him out. I don't want to kill the boy, but this is bad. So he hurls a thunderbolt and he takes him out, and the little boy drops from the chariot. And Apollo immediately jumps into the chariot and steers everything back on course. And he vows never again to let anyone else drive the chariot of the sun. Just hold on, stay tuned. There's a payoff. So, catch the shade. Wait for it. In the book, it says, and that is why Ethiopians are black. I screamed. I was like,
Wow.
okay. So, to play it forward, after I read that as a child, fast forward to Harlem. Mama's in the kitchen frying chicken because we are a black family. She's frying chicken. Stephanie, the little girl, is in the living room. She is facing a window that has sunbeams coming through the blinds. Stay with me. You know exactly what I'm about to do. The sunbeams are hitting the carpet. Stephanie sees the sunbeams hitting the carpet and she decides she wants to go visit Apollo herself. So she tries to walk onto the sunbeam, but her little legs keep going through the sunbeam, touching the carpet. So she picks up another little leg and she's trying to put her foot on the sunbeam so she can walk to see Apollo. Mothers have that mother hearing when it's too quiet. They're like, wait a minute. Mama looks out the kitchen to see what is going on, and she doesn't know the context. She knows nothing. All she sees is a little black girl standing in front of a window that has sunbeams coming through it, picking up her little legs and putting them down. And she's, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, Mama, I'm going to see Apollo. I'll be back. My mother looked and she was like, that gives you an insight. That gives you an insight.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to our points earlier, that story in the written word took you in. You were right there with them. Your audio storytelling does the same. You want people to feel like they're right there with you.
I love it.
Yeah.
And I like just pulling people in and connecting with them. And then when it's all over, we know it's a story, but I like that. And they go on
Yeah.
about their business.
Yeah.
That's my whole goal.
That's cool. I love that. So how has the podcasting helped you connect with your audience?
One of the things it's been absolutely, so thankful. When you're an independent podcaster, you don't necessarily know who hears you because you're small. So you're like, I don't know. I don't know who's listening to it. I have some numbers, but they're so small. I don't know. And then you'll get a DM on LinkedIn or you'll get an email through my website saying, Stephanie, about XYZ episode. And it just blows me away every time. I take nothing for granted. Somebody's listening to this? One person. I think I'll stay with it. Yeah. It's wonderful.
Yeah, that's awesome. And how long have you been doing audio Oasis storytelling?
Yeah,
For now?
2017.
Wow. How has it evolved for you?
Oh, man. If you go to my podcast, just the episodes, if you go to the first one, you can hear the difference. I love it because you're supposed to show evolution. It doesn't start out with you like polished and all. No, the people know. You see what it sound like? Okay, so you got to put the work in. And you could hear it. It sounds like me, but the audio quality is different. The microphone is different, but you can hear me. And as you hear like different seasons and different episodes, you're like, Okay, she's been learning. She's taken a couple of courses. God knows she's changed her microphone. God bless her. She's worked out some soundproofing, and it's just great to hear. It's
Mhm.
great to hear. Yeah. Gotta stick
Yeah.
with it. You gotta
Yeah.
stick with it.
All right. And your Vocal Velvet Audio Limited series is a
Yeah.
major win. Can you
Yeah.
share the story behind creating this series and what it does for you?
Well, on the strength of the, Vocal Velvet Mac and Cheese edition, instead of having one standoff Vocal Velvet episode, let me do a very short 6-episode series of Vocal Velvet stories, and those stories were crafted around African American folk tales. There's an African American folk tale, there's one from the southern part of the United States because I wanted the listener to know there are folk tales from everywhere. And, I would think that the goal of most folk tales is to teach a lesson. So I just wanted to reformat those folk tales. I pulled them from you hear the cops? You hear the cop?
Oh,
Oh,
I've been here in Harlem this whole time. We've been on. So I love we put that in context.
yeah. Like, "Are
We
they coming for
started
you?" No, Harlem. They're around here all the time.
all day,
So,
every day.
anyway, I pulled them from, public domain because I'm not about to get sued. I don't wanna cease and desist. So I said, "Stephanie, if you're gonna roll this out for volume 1, pick a topic that you can try, that you don't have to worry about publishing rights or whatever, and you can just stretch and see how it works." So I chose public domain Black African folktales, and I repurposed them, and I set them to music, and then I thought, I said, "You know what, Stephanie? Come up with a tagline that sort of sets the mood for each story." And you know my tagline about the tango?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So it starts out because I have a universal tagline for audio Oasis storytelling. It's like the big mothership tagline. But for the vocal velvet series, I wanted something different. Okay, I'm going to do it. Wait, let me get into it. This is the vocal velvet series where the house rules are simple. Before we read and before we listen, we dance. We dance, darling. Shall we? And then this tango drops. Dun, 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 and it's and I have that before each story. So it's like, what is this? What's going on? And what I'm thinking I'm gonna do is for each volume, I'm gonna change the music. I'm gonna keep Vocal Velvet Audio before we read and before we listen, house rules, we dance. But I think the next one for volume 2, I'm gonna do house music. Before we read and before we listen, we dance. We dance, darling. Dun, 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 dun. Because I want people to have an experience and I want them to anticipate for the next volume. What music are we dancing to now? Who is it going to be? Salsa. Dun, 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 dun. Mhm.
Wow, that's so creative in the way in which you are developing the work. And when did you drop Vocal Velvet, the first volume?
October of 2024.
Okay. That's awesome because one of the trends in podcasting right now are limited series.
Yeah.
And once again, you are being intuitively creative in the work that you're doing, which is so awesome. And it's something that we know how to do as a people. So it's really cool. As you were talking about being young and reading the Greek mythology book,
Mhm.
I was also an avid reader. I'm also a writer, creative. But what was in my house was a folktale book. And I just read and read. Some of them scared the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Literally, I couldn't sleep at night. Some of them were by
Right.
Rabbit. Just this thick book anthology of these folk tales. So I love that you are bringing that back into 2024,
That's
2025,
right.
and the future. Because these stories, I was reading these as a kid. This book was way older than
Oh, yeah.
me,
Oh, yeah.
but I haven't seen anyone. I got my daughter that book, When We Could Fly, or whatever that was.
Mhm.
That's a folk tale. But other than that, I haven't really seen folk tales being pushed in mainstream or in our narratives or storytelling. So I love that, and I'm looking forward to checking that out because folk tales are the best.
And they teach some
Yeah.
lessons. And what I've learned from a lot of them is trust yourself. Just trust if something seems not quite right, before you ignore it and disregard it, nah, take a beat, take a step back and just drink it all in. Drink it all in and let it set with you a little while. I think that we are equipped with so many things within us that we carry within us that can not only guide us but can also protect us as well. We do better in a lot of cases if we just listen to what the inner voice is telling us, because we all know after a thing happens, we go back and go, see, I knew it. I knew it. I knew.
Mm.
But how about the next time you listen to that inner voice first? Listen, not after, but first.
Yeah, yeah. So you have all of these really dynamic aspects about yourself, from the
Thank you.
voice to the storytelling to the
Mhm,
creativity.
mhm.
Before Scandal, where was it going?
Before Scandal, I didn't know. I listened to a lot of podcasts, and I thought they were great because I'm an audio-driven kind of person, and I didn't really think that I could do it, and then I said, "You know what? Let's try it. If it doesn't work out, it's okay." And I remember when podcasting was very new, I came across Anchor before Anchor
Mhm.
and Spotify joined, and they said something like, "You can record it on your phone," because I thought I'd have to buy, like, a whole board, like an engineering board, and I have to have a studio built in my home because, like, back in the day when you hear audio engineer before podcasting, it's like this booth with all these flashing buttons, red and green, and these sliding dials, and you have to have everything soundproofed, and you have to have all these special mics and thousands of dollars, and that's where I was. And then I came across this app that said, "No, download it on your phone, speaking to the mic on your phone, it will upload to platforms. Congratulations, you have a podcast." And I was like, "Say less."
Yeah.
I was like, "This is audio Oasis storytelling." And then once I cleared that particular learning curve, I relaxed a little bit and I was like, "Okay, now that the intimidation factor has been removed, because I'm in it now. So let's just go for it. Let's just do it."
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
sometimes that's all it takes.
Yeah, and I'm so happy that you did take that step, get beyond that limiting belief, because that's what it was. It was a
Mhm,
belief that stopped you before you started, and then you
mhm.
started, and the
Push
rest is
right through it.
history.
Push
Yeah,
right through it, yeah.
yeah. So, for podcasters who struggle with balancing the creativity and the discipline,
Mhm.
what strategies have worked for you?
Let your love of what you want to create, let that push you out of your fear. Because if your goal is to create art, create the art. Now, if your goal is to make money, that's something totally different. And if that's your primary goal, it's going to cloud a lot of things. But if your goal is to create art, nothing should stop you because you don't really care about who sees it. You're creating art. If some people like it, great. If some people don't like it, okay. But I like it. It's my
Mhm.
art.
Yes, it
Create
is.
create the art.
Mhm.
Create the art.
And speaking to that, what advice would you give to aspiring storytellers about finding their unique voice and style?
Try different things. There's going to be a resonance when you've come into the thing that clicks in your creative spirit. It's going to be like, this is it. I do funny stories, or I do horror. Like when I'm talking about something horror driven or a thriller type thing, I can feel my entire body kind of loosen up and I become really animated and really creative. When I'm talking about comedy, I'm just like cackling and my energy is off the chain. When I'm talking about, I could be a technical person. Look, I ain't got it. I'm not kiki funny. I don't do thriller. I'm not a personality kind of person, but I can break down a manual like nobody's business. I could take a very complex concept and break it down into 7 words. There's a need for that. So find where your click is. This is what I was meant to do, and then
Mhm.
grow that. But before you can find that, you have to, it's like dating, right? You date this person, like, they're nice, but no. You date someone else, it's like, better, but I don't, and then, mm, you're not even dating this person. You just have a conversation with them and everything is clicking. It's, "Oh, Imma see this person again. Okay. Just from a conversation, I'm gonna see this person again
Mhm.
because I like how I feel when I'm with them. I like how I feel when they leave to do something else and I still feel that same positivity. I'm going to investigate this. So it's the same thing, different categories of storytelling podcast.
Mhm, mhm. Absolutely. What's been the most surprising thing you've learned about yourself since starting Audio Oasis Storytelling?
Don't laugh at me. See, whenever someone says, don't laugh at me, the person starts cracking up, just like what you're doing. I have found that there's a whole nother side of me unleashed to this world. You're welcome.
Nice. Nice, nice. I love that. Say less, right? So what are your future goals for the podcast and how do you see it evolving?
I want to get into writing, and I'm not a writer per se. Scratch that. I am a writer, but I want to learn different levels of writing. Maybe I'll write a book. I want to go to the next level in content creation. And I'm smart enough and wise enough to know that this is where coaching comes in. This is where learning comes in. Like someone who's great at cooking. They've never been formally trained, but they can cook anything. But then there comes a point, if you want to go to the next level, where they're going to ask for certain certifications or certain things. So even though you can cook anything, you have to take all of that knowledge now and get it to a level that's universally recognized for the opportunities that you want to go. eh, I don't make the rules. I
Yeah.
don't make the rules, but you got to do it. You got to get your certification and all these other things. And then you can cook anywhere because now you have the universal check marks that say, okay,
Yeah.
that's what I want to do. Just learn more.
Mhm.
Hold on. This is where I shout out Afros and Audios. Listen, people, y'all listening? All right, I'm straightening my glasses. Okay. So 2024 was the first time that I had physically gone to an Afros and Audios convention. I think you guys did a virtual because of the pandemic. It was wild out in the streets and you couldn't do it. But I had always been meaning to go. Y'all, I went to Baltimore in 2024 and I said, I want to see people like me and people who know more than me and people who are trying to come up and figure out if they want to start. I want us all to be in the same room together. And let's see what that's like. I was not disappointed. The energy at that, the best way I can describe it, and I'm being very truthful here, the best way I can describe it, folks, it felt safe. I know people know what I mean by that. It felt safe. I'm in this room with these creative, brilliant people, and they all have one objective, and that is not only to help each other, but to see how they can elevate their craft. It is a unforgettable experience. Now, I'm going to share a story, but I'm going to scrape out all of the identifying details. There was one attendee at the conference who shared an experience with the floor, and they were unsure about if it was even something worth sharing. And they wanted to know, this experience that I have, is this something that people would want to know more about in a podcast? When I tell you the amount of love and the amount of support that was the energy that was extended to that individual, because they were just like, I don't know, but they felt, again, safe enough to stand and say, this is my experience. I'm sharing it with you. And I don't know if the world will want to hear more about this. When I tell you how people in the audience, and these are people of means, connection, finances, resources, networking, contacted, plugged into different things. These are people that do things and know things, okay? When I tell you how people immediately stood up and said to the individual, I can help you. You need to see me. I can help you. You need to see me. There was someone on the stage that said, make sure you see A, B, and C. That's what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
You know what I'm talking about. You were there. I don't know if you were in the room
I
when
was
that
in the room.
happened.
I was
And
yeah.
that to me was the most beautiful. I said, oh, I'll be back. I'll be back. Because you could talk a thing and you can say a thing, but to actually see a thing happen in real time, unprompted, unprompted. I won't forget that. That will stay with me for a long time. And I made my way over to said individual. I made my way. I was like, "Is it okay? Can I give you a hug?" Said, "Yeah." Gave the person a hug, and I said, "Now, enough of the hugging. Make sure you get over A and B, because once everybody disperses, they're hard to identify because they're like in the group at large. But while they're in this staged room, make sure you get over there." And I will. Okay. That to me was beautiful. And I believe that I shared that on the platform, the
Mhm.
Afro Audio's Black Podcasters platform. So, people, that is what Afros and Audios does in terms of community. Y'all need to get into it. All the people that are watching this, y'all need to get in 2025. When is it? What's the date? Shout it out. What's the date?
October 17th through the 19th.
There you
Yes.
go. Get
Yes.
into it, people. And God willing, I plan to be there.
Thank you so much. And it was really great to have you in the building because we have been talking with and around each other for several years now. But to have you there present was very meaningful for myself and definitely for the people in the room. The intentions that we show up for ourselves and each other. And
Mhm.
because that's the intention, we meet that every year. Thank you for those
Absolutely.
kind words. Thank you for experiencing it for yourself
Mm.
and letting other people know that they get to experience it as well. That's what's important.
Y'all,
So
come
I
on in.
really appreciate that. Last thing, and then I'll ask you how people can listen to the podcast and find you.
Oh,
If you could sum up the legacy you
mm.
want your podcast to leave in one sentence, what would it be?
It would be my universal tagline that says, "Welcome to Audio Oasis Storytelling, a place where you can stop by, listen, think, laugh, but most importantly, rest. Come and rest. Come rest."
Rest. So important. Yeah, and I love the extension of the work that you're doing, starting in 2017, creating Audio Oasis Storytelling, moving it into Vocal Velvet. Your desire to bring that
Mm.
into audio books, children books, and to sleep apps, and to hopefully a YouTube channel near me. So I start listening to it. It's all an extension and evolution. And you're creating that. I know there are desires there and things that are yet to come, but you've already done so much in this work. And so I just want to congratulate you and give you your flowers for that. And I'm
Thank you.
super grateful that you decided.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely. I know I said one more question, which is how people find you. But before you do that,
you.
how can we support you and your aspirations and the things that you want to do? What's a CTA that you can give to us that we can rally around?
For those that are watching and those that are listening, I'm open to learning more about audio narration, book narration, voice talent, opportunities, things like that. I need to learn. I want to learn. And I understand that if you're serious about something, you will do the work. Okay. Sometimes something is given to you outright, and that's fine. But I'm old school. I want to learn the fundamentals. I want to speak with people who are currently doing it, speak with people who have done audio dramas, who are producing audio dramas, who have hired voice talent. Sit at the feet and just learn something. Like the elders say, be quiet, sit down and learn something. And that's me bringing a pencil and pen, tablet, whatever. It's okay. And then what? All right. And then how'd you do that? How long did it take you to do that? Okay. So how do I learn that? Okay. Is it okay if I call you back and show you what I've learned and you tell me if I'm moving in the right direction? I can do that. That's where I am. And that being said, if there are narration opportunities out there, if someone is looking for short form narration, we should talk.
Yeah, anything is possible, and
Mm.
sometimes you do have to learn,
Oh,
and
yeah.
you talked about that before, taking classes to elevate and evolve the work that you've done on the Audio Oasis podcast. It's possible. The time is gonna pass either way. You either where you wanna be or you're not.
Right.
So taking that time to actually learn something versus just saying, I don't know how, so I'm just gonna stay over here, stay in
Mhm.
this lane." It's so important, and I think I wanted to really highlight that point because there are a lot of creators that have dreams, but they keep themselves on the sidelines because they're not really sure on the how. And it's so important that we are making sure that people understand that you can do anything. You might have to learn some things,
To
but
learn.
once you learn it,
Mhm.
you get to go too. So I love
Absolutely.
that. How can
Yes.
people listen to the podcast and find you?
If you go to my website, that's the best way to find me. My website is Stephanie Y. Cole. That's my full name, STEPHANIE Cole, COLE. StephanieYCole.com. If you go there, it has all of my episodes, every single one. If you click on the Vocal Velvet Audio tab, it has all of my links. So go to StephanieYCole.com and click on the Vocal Velvet Audio tab. It'll show you all the links: YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, just everything, and how to reach me directly, emails and everything.
Okay, awesome. And any social media?
It's all on
All
that
right.
page.
Got you. All right, Stephanie, it again was so great to connect with you in this way,
Yes.
one-on-one, having a conversation, learning more about you, your why, your creativity,
Thank you.
your capabilities. And I just love it. I really do. And I appreciate you so much.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you.